Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. I am excited to talk to you today, and I will let you know we are talking about fear today. And this is such a huge topic, and it can go in so many directions that I had to edit my notes down so that it wouldn't be a super long episode. So bear with me if I tend to go off on a little bit of some tangents. I'm gonna do my best not to. And because this is a topic that that comes up over and over again in our lives. So this is a topic that I will be talking about more than once. So I know that I have other opportunities to do that. And I have also done a podcast in the past talking about becoming fearless and what that means. So that is available. I don't know the podcast episode number, but I will do my best to remember to put that in the notes afterwards. So to kick off, the question that I have for you is, have you ever stopped to see or pay attention or even realize if you are already living your fear or experiencing it on some level? And I asked this question, my newsletter and the video recording of my email newsletter, I talked a bit about that. So you can also check that video out on YouTube, but I'll talk about it a little bit here because the podcast also goes out on other platforms other than YouTube. So it may sound like a strange question to ask, are you living your fear already? Or it might be something that really resonates with you and you're like, yes, I am. I am living my fear and I want to know how to get out of it. So the reason that I'm asking the question, at least in that manner, are you living your fear, or is it possible that you're actually already living your fear, is because a lot of times our brain, or we, the way we think about things, we tend to really exaggerate our fears and make them out to be so big and scary and focus on the fear, like what we're scared of doing so much, or actually focus on avoiding them, because avoiding, doing the thing that scares us, because it does seem so big and scary. We make them so big and scary. And we're focusing on how big and scary they are and avoiding doing things that a lot of times we don't actually make the connection to see how in reality we are experiencing them, or parts of them. It doesn't have to be to the big level. It's actually often not to the big level that we make them out to be, but we are experiencing them. And I'm going to tie this in because, of course, I talk about manifesting all the time. The reason the reason that we are experiencing on some level or attracting the circumstances that make our fears, an actual reality, or that we see evidence of them, is because what we focus on, right? In manifesting, what we focus on and where we put our energy is what we create, is the evidence that we see, is, what we attract to make that reality, or support, attract more evidence to support what we're focusing on. And so when we're focusing on what we're scared of, that's what we're attracting. That's what we're seeing. That is what we are bringing into our lives on some level. It may be simply in the initial process, like in our mind, where, think about manifesting in a positive way. I talk about creating that mental image, like in a movie, or like it's playing inside your head, and then manifesting is making that reality so that you're experiencing. And that is great when we're manifesting on purpose, intentionally, the things that we want to be having or to be experiencing, and the things that we want to have. That also works for manifesting by default, because we are in reality always manifesting. So by focusing on the things that we're scared of, or our fears, or what we don't want to do, that is attracting more evidence, that is attracting things that create more of that. It is attracting things that show us, yes, look, this is why you shouldn't be doing it, because we're focusing on what we're scared of, instead of our desired result. So in this episode, like I said, I'm really working on narrowing it down and keeping it concise. My goal, my intention with this episode is to share a quick strategy to get you out of that fear paralysis, if it is keeping you from doing things, or just to get you going, get you started, so that it actually doesn't manifest into reality, or compound more into more reality. Yes, manifest that more if you're already living it and experiencing it. So, why I share this, and in case you don't don't get my newsletter, my email newsletter, or have not seen the video version, I will do a quick recap of what I talked about in that newsletter. Is I realized that I am living my fear currently. So like, this is not like, oh, something I learned. I mean, I have learned it, but this is also something that I'm experiencing, or I realized that I'm experiencing. So I am always also on this journey, on experiencing the things that I talk about. So I realized that my fear, or a fear that I had and was focusing on, even if it wasn't consciously, is that I wouldn't be able to, let's see, so I can kind of maybe keep it concise, see if I can grab my notes as I'm talking to look at that. Let's see if I can make sure it doesn't. Okay, let's see here. All right, so sorry for the dead space, the dead air, if you call that. So what I realized is that when I pulled back the curtain, when the curtain was pulled back on my own fears, is that the fear that has been keeping me from taking, these bigger steps, the things that I'm scared to do, or the things that I don't do as often or as consistently, or put as much of my energy into as I could to actually achieve different results, is that let's see, what did I write here? Taking visible action. My brain was really playing up the fire. My brain was playing up the fire and brimstone, and amplifying those fears. Was that the fear? Let me concisely say this. The fear I had was that I cannot build and sustain a profitable and thriving business that fully supports me and the lifestyle that I desire, and that also allows me to do things for my friends and family, and even for myself, right? That I want to do, that aren't like necessities, but things that I want to do. And I wrote this in my newsletter, and I also wrote this. This is how I wrote it in my journal, because I talk to myself the same way that I talk, in these certain circumstances. It's like when I share that, it's coming genuinely as the way as I talk to myself. So the thing is, this is what I wrote. And the thing is, it's my reality right fucking now. I'm living my fear. That's what I wrote. The realization came when it became apparent that right now I have a business, but it is not fully supporting me, in the sense that I have a job still. I have I was going to say corporate, but I don't work in an office. I still work remote. I have the flexibility and freedom to create my own schedule and work on my own time, but I still do have that. So the fear that I have had, now I'm working through this at the full moon that we recently had. We're still, as of the time that I'm recording this, still in full moon energy. So perfect for me to be releasing this. And of course, that's just beautiful how the timing worked out perfectly. And it's not by coincidence. It's beautiful because that's how the universe and things work. So I had this realization so that I can now intentionally work on letting it go. And so that fear that I just mentioned, oh, I can't fully support myself. Well, I'm not fully supporting myself with my business. I have income also coming in from a job. And I have said this before, but it was just more pronounced when it's like, I'm just using that income as a safety blanket. And things shift, and it's like, I've said this to myself before, but I'm like, I have taken steps, but I often catch myself, what I'm realizing about me, it's like, I take the step, I do a scary step, and then I think, okay, then that I took the scary step and like things should come easier. Well, guess what? They don't. So I'm having to learn the same damn lessons that I talked to you guys about. So I take a scary step and it's like, oh, well, shouldn't that just be it? It's like, no, that's actually the starting point, Patty. That's how I talk to myself. That's the starting point. Hello. Now that you've taken a scary step, you have to keep going. It's not just like, oh, okay, that's it. And that is a pattern that I have noticed throughout my life. So see how I'm realizing these things about myself, and, then also sharing that with you, because you are not alone in these changes that you want to make, and the fears and the things that you think, and the self-talk that we have. I have it. I still do it. So I hope, that you realize that have not got it all dialed in, and I don't have these issues to deal with. I am more often than not my own content. I am what I'm experiencing, and definitely what I have also experienced in the past, but I am my own content. So I am sharing my experiences, and this one just happens to be more in real time, which I think is important to share as well, because, this seems like it would be something I'd gotten past, but obviously not. So realizing that I have the job, the work that I work, and I have a business. So I currently have both. That's my fear. I'm not fully supporting myself and my lifestyle and my desires with only my business. And so I now realize I need to take bolder steps. I need to do things, get in front of people in a different way, take different steps. And I have actually this week done some of those things, getting out in front of different people, doing things a little differently, reaching out, to actually do business and money making activities within my business. And yes, it is uncomfortable as hell, and that is part of it. So taking the big initial step also does not mean that the discomfort will go away. But I'm using that to bring it back to my to my points for today. So is there anywhere in your life, if you take a step back to see or realize like, hey, this fear that I have, I'm actually living it. So why am I focusing on it to make it more real, or to make it, more of the same circumstances, instead of focusing on the scary step and taking it and doing something? So if you're not sure if you're living your fear, or if this is something that is relevant, you might also look at where you are self-sabotaging yourself. A lot of times we are aware of the self-sabotage, and a lot of times we're not. It really depends on where we are on our journey and with the particular experience. So is there something that you're afraid of that you're actually already living? Or where do you see that you are self-sabotaging yourself? And that is a place to start. It's like, why am I self-sabotaging? What is the story or the fear behind that keeps me in that loop of self-sabotaging? And that's another topic that I will also cover from time to time, because that is also a very big topic. So are you already living it? And if you are, well, shit. If you are, then let's just change it, because obviously the fear is not as big and bad as we were making it out to be if we're already living it, or if we've experienced it, or we can see that, oh, Well, my brain was telling me I have to keep this job and I can't support myself on my own. So I have to keep the job as a safety blanket. But that's just keeping me in that loop where it's like, okay, the fear was that I won't be able to support myself, but I won't as long as I keep the job and not do the business things, right? The business activities. So if you're already living it, then accept it and acknowledge it, and not accept it as in this is where I'm going to stay, but just take ownership. It's like, hey, guess what? I'm already living it, or I've already experienced it, or I can see how it's playing out in my life currently and how I will continue to compound it if I don't start doing the things that scare me. So if you're already living it, just say, hey, this is where I am. Acceptance. And then from that acceptance, it really is freeing. It doesn't feel great in the moment, or, when you realize, yes, I have to accept my circumstances. But that is where that freedom, that liberation comes from. It's like, okay, now that I've taken responsibility, I see exactly where I am. Now I can look at actually laying out the steps instead of focusing on the damn fear that are keeping me from, taking the steps. Or maybe you haven't even identified a step to take or an action to take, simply because the fear was so big and so pronounced that that's where the focus was. It wouldn't even let you, or it hasn't even let you come up with an action step or things that you can do to move in the direction of what you do want. And if you don't know what you want, again, another broad topic, look at what you don't want. What are things in your life? What are circumstances that you would like to change? And what would that change look like? Or what could it look like? And if that feels heavy, just think about moving away and distancing yourself from the things that you don't like, or the circumstances that you want to, the circumstances that you don't like, taking steps away from that instead of perpetuating them. So accepting also is important, to accept that the fear is not going to go away on its own. The way to get the fear to go away is to do something. And the thing is, you as well as we're going to have to do it while we feel scared, because it's not going to go away by thinking about it. It's not going to go away by waiting to get the courage or the confidence or the sign. The sign is that you're scared to do something. That's the fucking sign. Because if you're sitting here saying, oh, I'm waiting for a sign that I'm ready, I'm waiting, the sign that you're scared to do, or the fact that you're scared to do it, is the sign that you're waiting for. So, hello. With that. So accept that fear will not go away and you need to do something about it. And this is the cool part. This is the part, the next part that you can use over and over. Oops, my leg. Let me move that. You can use over and over throughout your life. And if you have seen, or you listen to my Facebook Live that I did the day before this podcast, I talked about borrowing courage from your future self. And this, even if you don't know what I mean by that yet, doesn't that just feel like, ooh, I like that. Borrowing courage from my future self. Oh, okay, tell me more. Or doesn't that just kind of like change the energy from, okay, I'm scared to do this thing, and that's why I haven't been doing it. And now you hear me say, borrow courage from your future self. And you're like, how do I do that? Is that going to help me? It's simple things like that. Just shift the energy and then get curious about them. So what I mean by borrowing courage from your future self is envision, or just have a knowing, or whatever it is that works for you, that the version of you there is a version of you who has already achieved the thing that you want. There is a version of you, the future self, you, who has already taken this scary step. There is a version of you that has the courage because they've already done the thing. So connect with that version of you however you want. And this can be like in the moment kind of thing, or you can do some journaling on it when you have more time, just to kind of dive deeper into it. But think, all right, and this can be the future you from like 30 minutes from now, which is after you've already taken the step and, you still feel kind of, but you're on the other side of it. It could be the future you, a week, a month, a year, years from now down the line, because whatever version, they've already done it. So if just that concept, and if this is a new concept for you, just think there are infinite versions of ourselves always in existence that we have access to. Our younger selves, our past selves, and our future selves, they're really all within us and with us at all times. We're experiencing the moment to moment, version of us, but the me that wrote these notes, 45 minutes ago is a past version of me. And now I'm the version who's actually saying these things and recording my podcast. So hopefully that helps, because they're all always with us and within us and accessible to us. So think of the you that has already done this, that kick-ass, badass, amazing, the person who has accomplished this, because you are amazing in this moment, in any moment as well. But think, all right, that version of me who has done this, I'm going to borrow courage, and just think that doesn't mean the fear is going to go away. It's just going to give me that push. It's going to give me that oomph to take the step and know that it's okay to be scared, because I think that is a huge stopping point for a lot of us, that we think we need to wait till we're not scared to do it. And we're not going to get not scared until we do it. So it is an awful vicious cycle. And that's what I talked about in the previous episode that I did. I don't even know how long back. But I talked about being fearless and how reframing that word from, instead of making it a description or an adjective, or it's like, oh, I need to, not be scared in order to do the thing. Think of being fearless as an instruction. It's like, oh, to have less fear, or to fear this thing less, I need to actually take a step or do a thing. So that's what that episode was about, that aspect of fear and becoming fearless. And so now the action step, or the concept, or the idea that I want to leave you with, or for you to become familiar with, is this idea of borrowing courage from your future self. And this is something that we're going to do over and over throughout our lives, because as we continue to develop new desires, as we continue to set new goals, identify things that we want to have or do or be, we're going to always need to become that person, so in order to make that a reality. So this is something that you can do and will do over and over throughout your life, for your entire life. There doesn't come a stopping point as long as we're still here, living and having this human experience. So that is basically it. What is fear keeping you from doing, and or where are you self-sabotaging yourself? Ask yourself and pay attention and see if you are already living this or experiencing it, or you can see how you're attracting it. Accept and realize that the fear is not going to go away until you actually do the thing or take a step, start doing the thing. And know that doing it scared is part of the process, and you can borrow borrow courage from your future self at any given moment. That whatever version of your future self is more than willing and able and wants to give you as much as you need, without conditions, without, you having to do or earn it, because it's you. And so you can access that at any time. If there's any part of this that you would like me to dive deeper on or kind of focus on in a future episode, please let me know by jotting it down in the comments, depending on where you're listening to or watching this. Or you can also email me at vision@bluemoonmanifestations.com. So Blue Moon Manifestations is all one word. And vision, VISION, @bluemoonmanifestations.com, or any other topics that you would like me to discuss. And I'm in this place where I feel like I want to keep going and talk more, but this is where I stopped on my notes to let this sink in and have the focus be that you can borrow courage from your future self. Let me know what your thoughts are about that, or what this concept, brings up for you. If it feels expansive, if it feels weird, if it feels like, I have no idea how to even wrap my head around this, let me know, because that's how I know how else I can explain it, or what else I can talk about and help it make sense for you. So if you think this is something that someone else will enjoy, I invite you to share this, pass this on to them, tag them in the comments or wherever, again, where you're watching this, share this out and invite them to check out the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. And I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.